Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Wednesday, April 6th, 2011. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., 4:30 p.m. in London, 12:30 in Hamilton. In Mexico City, it's 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. In the U.S., the big news today is that the American federal government is lurching toward a shutdown scheduled for Friday, unless the White House can come to an agreement with the House Republicans on a deficit reduction package for last year's budget, the one that was passed last year. The White House has already agreed to a $33 billion reduction. The House Republicans are insisting on a $66 billion reduction. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. We'll go to our May news. Well, the May news from our end is the announcement of the CATEX bordereau management system at Market Form is now live. This is an article that was in the Insurance Day today. The growing sophistication of the Lloyd's approach to binding authority has been underscored by a tie-up between Market Form and CATEX. Market Form continues to feel the impact on its bottom line of its foray into Italian medical malpractice business in the last 10 years, but it's been strengthening its risk management process, including the appointment at the end of 2009 of a head of risk and the creation of a new compliance committee. At the beginning of last year, that committee has been charged with preparing for Solvency II. According to Tony Gillette, syndicate manager at Market Form, it's in part the extra requirements of Solvency II, coupled with Lloyd's enhanced focus on the management of binding authorities, that led Market Form to turn to CATEX's Pivot Point bordereau management system. Mr. Gillette explained, the bordereau management system offers us granular reporting capability for our binding authority down to the specific location or risk level, and enables us to measure an individual risk's performance. That gives us a detailed level of data on which to base underwriting decisions and will help us in being able to meet new requirements from Lloyd's or Solvency II measures. The CATEX bordereau system gives underwriters access to the same level of information as if they had written, processed, and handled the claims on the business themselves directly. Last year, Market Form increased the capacity on its syndicate 2468 by more than 20%, up to £145 million, and it kept that figure at the same level for this underwriting year. Well, there's concern now in the United States about the Fukushima plant in Japan. This is after a confidential assessment by the American Nuclear Regulatory Commission was obtained by the New York Times. That report suggests that the Fukushima plant is far from stable. Fragments of incredibly dangerous nuclear fuel were blown out of the reactors, according to the report, up to 1 mile from the units. And then those fragments were simply bulldozed over to protect workers on the site. Up until now, flooding the damaged reactors with water has been considered the most efficient cooling method. But the report indicates that American engineers are now worrying that the enormous amount of water is actually weakening the containment vessels, making them more vulnerable to possible ruptures. In an effort to avoid the continued spread of radiation, and worse, another hydrogen explosion, the plant operator TEPCO announced that it will begin injecting nitrogen into Reactor 1 and probably as well into Reactors 2 and 3. Nitrogen can prevent highly combustible hydrogen from exploding, as it did 3 times in the first few days after the quake. The Associated Press reports that Japan's Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency made clear that TEPCO is erring on the safe side. The agency said the nitrogen injection is being considered a precaution. American scientists say that a new hydrogen explosion could happen and there could be a failure of one of the fuel rods. The fuel pond would cause a fire, and if that's the case, that would be a major release of radiation exceeding anything we've seen so far. Well, a couple of reinsurer reports based on Japan. Hardy Syndicates has estimated that it will face a 9 million to 12 million pound hit from the Japanese quake. This is based on an industry loss of about 21.5 million pounds. Hardy stated that there were a number of factors that limited its losses. That includes their reinsurance protection. Hardy said that it has purchased second event reinsurance protection at a relatively low attachment point for 2011, and that it also has substantial quota share cover. So the reinsurance program provides greater protection than was available in 2010. Then they said that they do not expect material losses in its marine and aviation account, while its direct and facultative property account has sort of low exposure in the affected region. In addition, Hardy said that while its Kiyosei book of insurance includes homeowners business, it only provides contents cover and does not include earthquake, shock, or tsunami. Well, that's a big help. Validus in Bermuda has admitted that it does not expect to report a profitable first quarter when it announces its results for the first 3 months of the year in early May. The reasons are the Japanese earthquake and February's Griffon Alpha loss in the North Sea. New York traded reinsurers said it expects a $139 million hit from the Japanese quake. The Griffon Alpha loss is expected to cost over $50 million. Both estimates are net of reinstatement. The Griffon Alpha loss, which resulted from heavy storms causing severe damage to the floating production, storage, and offloading vessel, is expected to be one of the largest individual risk losses on record. Validus says that estimates of the ultimate insured loss keep increasing since the loss occurred in early February. Transatlantic Re, listed in the New York Stock Exchange, also revealed that they expect first quarter cat losses of $355 million US. $240 million of that is from a Japanese hit. That's based on an industry loss of between 25 and 30 billion. The remaining 115 million comes from the floods in Australia and the earthquakes in New Zealand. In London, Amanda Blank has been shaking up AXA Commercial. 114 people have been made redundant. They've been let go. But the former Power Place chief executive Matthew Reed has been brought in. He's been reunited with Ms. Blank. They both worked at Towergate. Blank took over as CEO of AXA Commercial in February. She stepped down as CEO of Towergate at the end of last year. Reed left Towergate-owned Power Place in February. Blank continues to reveal her new organizational design to deliver profitable growth. Keep our eyes on that. The stock market in New York is up about 31 points right now. We'll go to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news. Well, it's rare that you see a national leader light out after an industry, but Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard is really after the insurance industry. She's accused insurers of cowardice for not appearing at a disasters victim meeting in Queensland, Australia. Queensland, of course, was badly affected by the flooding that hit Brisbane and the surrounding areas in January. The Assistant Treasurer of the state of the country of Australia had previously accused the insurers of corporate cowardice. The Prime Minister said that the government would name and shame insurers that refuse to face their customers. However, after all was said and done, she admitted that Australia had a competitive economy and it was not within her power to order insurers to pay up or to alter retroactively the terms and conditions of the policy that they sold. Speaking to the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, the Prime Minister said that, quote, "They didn't stump up, they didn't have the courage to go, and we are very, very critical of that lack of courage and ability to sit with Queenslanders and work their issues through." She added that she thinks there is evidence that in parts of Queensland, individual claims have been treated in a callous way. All right, the Prime Minister has a point. There's a tremendous amount of human suffering involved, but what is an insurer supposed to do if the policy says that it's not covered? It's sort of a black and white issue, regrettably. News from Moscow. Boop, boop, boop. Lloyd's insurer Chaucer, Russian reinsurer Dakota Re, and broker RFIB, Robert Fleming International Brokers, have teamed up to form Sea Line. Sea Line will be the first Lloyd's cover holder in Russia. Chaucer and RFIB acted as sponsors to Lloyd's for Sea Line. It received cover holder approval on the last day of March. Dakota Re owns Sea Line. It's going to underwrite cargo reinsurance risks in the Commonwealth of Independent States. According to Chaucer, Sea Line is the first major product of the new Lloyd's representative office in Moscow that was set up in November to support market developments in Russia. An elite force of United Arab Emirate military personnel have retaken our cargo ship that had been captured by pirates. The ship has arrived safely in the port of Abu Dhabi with the crew, as well as 10 captured pirates on board. This ship, owned by the Emirates company, the name of the ship is the Arila 1, came under attack in the Arabian Sea off the coast of Oman at dawn on Friday. Emirati Special Forces, with support from the American Navy, launched a mission to rescue the vessel while crew members kept themselves safe in a secure room. After a pitched battle, the boat docked in Emirati's capital Port Said on Tuesday, according to the state news agency, and the pirates were handed over to the Interior Ministry pending trial. Well, another casualty of the tsunami. This is Freescale Semiconductor, the chip maker partly owned by the Blackstone Group, has decided that they are not even going to attempt to reopen a factory in Sendai, Japan that was damaged by last month's earthquake. Safety concerns and damage mean that the plant, which had been scheduled to close in December of this year, will not return to full operation. According to the Freescale CEO, we will not rebuild or reopen the plant. The damage is too substantial. Freescale staff evacuated the site following the disaster. Chip plants typically run 24 hours a day and are vulnerable to power outages that can ruin months of work. Freescale is owned by a group of private equity companies, including Blackstone. The company filed on February 11th to sell shares in an IPO. Now, here's a story that we've been following but haven't run yet because we thought it was out. But apparently it flared up again. There's a serious refinery fire in Indonesia. The Pertamina refinery fire is burning once again. This is after it had been believed to have been contained. A spokesman for the state-owned oil company Harun told Indonesia's news agency that flames burning tank 31T7 began to light up again around noon yesterday, about 24 hours after they had been declared out. Last Saturday at around 5 a.m. local time, a fire broke out at the Pertamina refinery in Cilacap in the island of Java after an explosion at the same tank, which contains high-octane motor gasoline. Following the explosion in the refinery's unit number 4, 31T2 tank was completely destroyed. 2 other tanks, 3 and T7, containing naphtha, immediately caught on fire. Firemen faced further challenges in addition to the exploding tanks because there was a 7.1 earthquake that struck the city of Cilacap, but the earthquake reportedly did not damage the refinery. The fire is still going on, unfortunately. Well, in the Netherlands today, in a very cosmopolitan city of Amsterdam, strollers just about 2.5 hours ago, a little bit after lunch, were out walking around, and they were encountered with this scene. A man set himself on fire in front of a national monument in the central part of the city. Emergency services arrived in Dam Square to extinguish the man's flames with water and foam. Part of the area was cordoned off. The police said in a message posted on their website, "A man has set himself on fire on the dam." There is no further information. There was no information on the man's identity either. Photos of the dramatic scenes began to circulate on social media. One, as we showed you, shows the man on his back engulfed in flames with several passers-by attempting to beat out the fire with their coats. Dutch National Broadcasting Company cited eyewitnesses as saying that the man spoke Dutch with a foreign accent and that he had no political motive. Horrible. If we have any breaking news, we'll go back and tell you. Tom Bailey will be doing the news tomorrow from London, and I will see you on Friday. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and the broadcast will be on at the regular time tomorrow.